All right, I'm gonna step back on both my hands and my feet. What's up, y'all? What do we think about the off-camber? What do you think about it? You think it's good? I think it's good. All right, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it's good. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because this video is going to be big, quote unquote big, okay? If there's wind noise, there's wind noise. And there's a lot of sports going on. There's probably close to 1,000 people, maybe multiple thousands of people over here playing different sports. Today's the 10th of May, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany, and this video is a little different in a good way. This is on the main side of InTheImageClothingCompany, one of our fourths, but this video is going to be more of a documentation than anything else. And you know, I think in a lot of ways, really what In The Image Clothing Company can do is motivate people. And yeah, everybody likes a good underdog story. Everybody likes to see somebody go from just about nothing and then, you know, blossom. Yeah. So really what In The Image Clothing Company is a documentation of Evan Strong's life. And while that is the case, it's not about me. And it's a little bit contradicting, but as of today's date, we're on 117 episodes of 1/4 of our company, In The Image Clothing Company podcast. And we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, thoroughly, deeply, boldly, blunt, and raw, and real, and I get screaming sometimes, right? I mean, episode 114 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast is titled In The Image Clothing Company and Evan Strong are one. And what I am realizing now, since right around that episode, a couple weeks ago really, is it's about me without it being about me, okay? What I'm saying with this is, well, a lot of what I said in that episode, but this is the main side. And I want a documentation here for people, not for me. You know, I spent so much of my life working for other people. Yeah, I said I wasn't gonna do that anymore. I haven't had a job in about 3 years. And this is the whole thing. The title of this video is In The Image Clothing Company is here to stay. Because when people want to do something that's actually important and impactful and that's, you know, hopefully, quote unquote, going to last, a lot of times they're not willing to have it be able to take some time to take root and to actually have a good foundation. And the whole thing with this is I don't expect it to be something by any certain time or even by the end of my life. But what it is here to stay. You know, because I could definitely go work for whoever and do whatever on any part of the earth that I could get to, make any amount of money doing anything that could be compensated with currency. But why? If I'm asking myself and I answer it for the video, well, the why would be for me, there's no reason, man. And you know, I've been saying this and I mean it. And last year in 2024, I just about moved to California. In the Image Clothing Company is based out of the state of Utah, the United States of America. And I was planning to just go to California with basically nothing, no money, a skateboard, a little travel guitar, a backpack with some clothing, and a couple pair of shoes. And it didn't happen, and a lot did happen from staying here in Utah. In the Image Clothing Company happened a couple months after that. September 23rd, 2024 is when we founded this, In the Image Clothing Company. But I've been saying, you know, walking around praying, and I'd be, in all seriousness, more content eating out of garbage cans, sleeping outside wherever I could legally do that without getting in trouble, and just kind of hanging out. You know, keep making videos for In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, right, just doing whatever came. More than actually going to a job, that's what would make me content. Because I could, I'm smart, I'm capable, good worker. I could go get a job anywhere and I can make any amount of money, and I don't care to. And, you know, I've had 13 jobs in my life. Like actual jobs, right? And I don't want to have another one. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but you know, maybe I will. But also maybe I never do. And maybe I never do. Because I'm not joking about it. I mean, I spent so much time, even with access to a bed, just sleeping on the carpet inside. No pillow. I don't sleep with a pillow anyway, because what it does to the body, but I live such a simple life. The big thing is I don't care. I don't have an expectation for In the Image Clothing Company to be what I want it to be, is how I'm gonna word it. Wind noise. I guess clarified. What I mean is, if I expected or wanted In the Image Clothing Company to be something I wanted it to be, just make a lot of money, go on a bunch of crazy vacations and hire employees to do everything, so I don't even have to be involved, but I can be rich and have all the fancy cars and, you know. Like I said at the start, people like a good underdog story. So here's the thing. We've got a lot going on, okay? We have the main side here, in the Image Clothing Company. We address the human body and its natural function, okay? We come at it through the skeletal system because the fat content changes, the muscle mass changes, but the body's about its foundation. A neutral in every joint, okay? And from there, the body can just work. A center line on Earth's gravity, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, naturally stabilizing our entire body. All in the center where the buttons of button-ups need to sit, okay? In the Image Clothing Company clothing, 100% natural material, staying centered, fitting correct. That's how we allow, keyword, the human body to work, okay? We talk about it, we talk about it, we talk about it. We've been talking about it for about 8 months. I've got 206 videos placed onto the main site of the Image Clothing Company. I discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. I discuss clothing, free modifications, materials, keeping them natural, getting out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue that clothing causes. I've documented videos where my body has been visually, physically transformed, and you can see. We talk about posture and how it doesn't exist. It's just the only way that a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, aka the human being on Earth, would stand, obeying the laws of gravity and keeping the entire body activated as a whole, because all of it is one, and anywhere any of it goes, the rest has to come with. I talk about where clothing has to sit for everybody. If you're a man or woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age, any part of the earth, or in any time period ever, which means the things that we talk about under In The Image Clothing Company are literally eternal. Pants need to be entirely above the hips, so there's no restriction to the pelvis. The waistline angle needs to be slightly higher in the front than in the rear, because that's the only way that our pelvis can stay neutral to keep our core muscles activated. That's the only reason they're there. They always would be unless otherwise restricted by something. Tops that we wear have seams on top of our shoulders, and they need to sit evenly behind the little bones on the peak of our shoulders. Those are the other end of our collarbones. And our shoulders only can ever work behind our head. The edge seams of the shoulders need to sit right at the very edges, because that's just where the functionality of the ball and socket joint of the shoulder is. In The Image Clothing Company has had 2 prerequisites since its very founding, and actually even before, when it was just me without a company name behind it. Putting ropes in shoes is called shoelaces. In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, which is nothing that we own, but just the way that we weave ropes across our feet without altering them. Found wherever you find that 5-word name that all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company come to. And yeah, InTheImageClothingCompany.com is something I purchased right at the very founding, right around that time, and we still have the website up and running as of today's date. But we have to tie our shoes evenly over toward the inside on both sides, because there's 2 sides to a center line of the human being. Tags need to be removed as the second prerequisite under In The Image Clothing Company from all items of clothing included is our shoes. They're either causing a physical gap or they're just not allowing musculature to activate in the body. And then you've got compensation trying to happen and it just can't. Okay, the body's all one. So this is what we do on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and has been the case since the founding. We talk about hydration, we talk about eating and sleeping, walking, standing, sitting. We talk about chair heights and how they're unnatural. They cut off the hamstring, the muscle in the rear of our upper leg. We talk about a lot of things. The truth behind things like arthritis, restless leg syndrome, tongue thrusts, collapsed arches, shoulder pain, and how it's probably not coming from your shoulders. We talk about a lot of things. A lot. And we have 3 other sides to us. In the Image Clothing Company podcast came next. And at first I thought we were going to talk about clothing, and things I learned about it, materials and design. And about 3 or 4 episodes into it, I said, numbered episodes by the way, that it was going to become a podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's what our company's founded on and where our name comes from. In the image of God himself, Jesus the Christ is how and who and through and by him is our design. The human being. So now we're on episode 117. And I've spoken so deeply on a lot of things. It's a place for me to share my life and all the experiences and diverse things that I've gone through, and I'm pretty wise, man. I really am. All pride aside. After In the Image Clothing Company podcast came In the Image Clothing Company music, because playing guitar is really one of the main things that led me to be able to even found In the Image Clothing Company, because, well, as of today's date, I'm on my 21st guitar in 3 years. And full-size guitars just alter the body. You look at anybody, images, videos that you can find anywhere, or just somebody in person playing a guitar, just look how out of balance their body is when they're playing a full-size guitar. But it's become something that people just think is how it is, so they keep doing it. So right now I have a little 3/4 size Johnson JG 610R. Bought it used for $45 US last week. Anyway, I'm a fingerstyle guitarist, so I added another side. So then there was 3 2 In the Image Clothing Company, and I left the company name in it and just said In the Image Clothing Company music, so it's easy to find. So it's all intertwined, because really what we do is allow the human body to work through playing guitar. The hands are essentially the shoulders, as the feet are essentially the hips. And, within all those guitars that I've had, at least the first 18 or 19, I just was learning how to actually string guitars. It's just a vibrating string that we're pressing into with one hand and plucking with the other hand. It needs to be even and balanced and vibrate the same through all 6 strings. So there's In the Image Clothing Company music, and I put music that I make there, and I am really good at guitar. Then about a month ago, I started going to the shelter. over here in the town that I live. And I was just hanging out with dogs. Just take them outside and walk them around. They had 3 little dog runs in the back, and I just play with the dogs. One day I went over and there was a standard poodle named Snoopy, all matted up. It's probably silver, really, because at the time I didn't know much of anything about poodles. But he had both gray hair and black hair. And they said he was only about a year old, give or take. But, you know, he was a stray, so they might not actually know for sure. But he was so awesome, and I went over there multiple days and just sat with him in the grass. Just cuddled with him, and kind of changed my life. Big dog, and just so loving and so gentle. His steps are so light. Found out poodles have webbed feet. And then I was thinking, man, a dog would really help me, because I love the mountains. Living in the state of Utah my whole life, we've got big ones all around Utah Valley. It's called a valley because we're surrounded by mountains. And even though I do love them, there's been a lot of times in my life where I just haven't really gotten myself up there to hang out in the mountains. And I started thinking, man, if I had a beautiful dog like this, I'd be helped, you know. As much as I'm going to be the one taking care of the dog, a dog would help me. I got thinking about, you know, why couldn't I have a dog? Anyway, a couple weeks, give or take, later, I added another 4th to In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. And now it's got its own full foundation. It's only been a little over 2 weeks since it's even been a thing as of today's date. I've got 38 videos on that 4th of the company. I know what I need to know about what is now In the Image Clothing Company's standard poodle, proper purebred, registered through AKC dog breeding program, okay? So now we've got a breeding program all set up and lined up and founded and set in stone with our values. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles has its own slogan of letting dogs stay natural in a modern world, with flat, slippery flooring indoors that dogs are spending so much time on when their paws need the texture and, you know, have dexterity that the outside natural world would always give them otherwise. We talk about materials and dog toys that are unnatural, and ideally keeping everything that's going into the dog or onto the dog or next to the dog natural, including the things placed onto it. Collars, harnesses, and leashes imbalanced, weight-wise and fit-wise. I've already made so many videos talking about myths behind dog ownership, why dogs won't listen, having noise on their collar, jingling with dog tags, just distracting them from listening to your commands. Talking about dehydrated kibble, how it's so unnatural to extract water from food. There's naturally such high water content in anything that we would eat, whether it is meat or just vegetables. And I'm vegetarian. So, yeah. In the Image Clothing Company is here to stay. Because not only will we have In the Image Clothing Company clothing to sell, not just so that we can have some fashionable company for clothing, because that's not the case, but to allow the human body to work,
because we know how to have that be the case under In the Image Clothing Company. Because everybody's the same, designed in the image of God. But we also will have In the Image Clothing Company dog products and those sales. Collars. All things that we do get into for dogs. But we also have In the Image Clothing Company podcast that I can film anytime and anywhere. The episodes are numbered. I was praying about it earlier today. I'm like, Father, one day we might just be on hundreds of thousands of episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And some people just start a company and they don't want to get to number 3 or 4 on a video or an episode of a podcast unless the company is taken off in whatever way they thought that was supposed to be. So I could be, 95 or 905 making episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast anytime, anywhere. Because all I've been using up until today's date for every single piece of content under In the Image Clothing Company is a little smartphone that I got refurbished off the internet. The back's completely shattered with some packing tape over it, with just a little cutout for the microphone so that the audio can be coming through. And the main cameras on the rear aren't anything that I've been using, because as far as I know, they don't even work. They don't focus because of what happened when the phone broke. So I use a little front camera. They call them selfie cameras at this time, right? Small little one. Doesn't really have focusing abilities. It just has like one focus, right? So it doesn't matter. There's no special equipment that would ever be needed. And regardless of what does happen, we would never need to improve the quality, quote unquote, right, of our audio or our cameras or the layouts of things, the surrounding sounds, which I like because then it makes you feel like you're actually here, But we've also just got me doing everything that I do with dogs, because In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is just as much just a whole place for advocating as it is for breeding poodles, and as it is for selling dog products just to help the dog. Is the reason we sell dog products under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Same with human being clothing. But just all that we do with advocating through poodle parades, which I've announced. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles are poodle parade events. Any size of purebred poodle and or any size of poodle mix are the only dog breeds that will ever be allowed at poodle parades, and there's many reasons to it, but a lot of what we do is advocate for the importance of purebred dogs, for the health of the dogs. Good dog ownership and taking accountability for your dog if you're the owner. And so these are things that we can do no matter what. I'm not expecting this to be something that I think it should be out of like one specific avenue or something. So a lot of what we do is just debunking myths. Hydration, posture, stretching, exercise, workouts, dieting, breathing. Yeah. Sitting. Share heights, man. Been saying it since the very founding. And I've been saying everything's the same since the very founding, by the way. Because what we talk about is truth, man. I didn't decide any of it. I'm just, learning about things, and I understand them well, and so I talk about it. I mean, we wouldn't have to ever sell any clothing, and I could still help everybody on the earth that could ever hear what I say about just modifying their clothing to not alter their body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's the truth. So, I think the big thing with this video is just, regardless of if anybody thinks it should look any certain way, if it's a company that they think is this, or if they think is that, well, you might not realize that we've got 4 full sides to us, and each side has a lot of things within it that are their own things that we really do here. But the point is, we're here to stay. Because it's always going to be valid. The things that we talk about and the things that we do under In The Image Clothing Company. No matter where you're from, dude. So, yeah. So, that's where I'll leave this video, but I needed this. Not to make me feel better, but I needed this to be done. To be doing my part. To show people that if you give up, it's not going to work. Yeah. There's not many people that know about In The Image Clothing Company yet. As of me saying this right now. And I don't want to be like all, in your face about it, but just wait and see. And that's kind of what I mean by I needed this video. Because people just don't really understand sometimes that things take work. And what people think of as work is often a waste of time. Like if I were to go to a quote-unquote job, it's a waste of my time. But you might not really be able to see that as of today's date. If you know anything about what I'm doing, you might think In The Image Clothing Company as of right now is a waste of time. But everybody loves a good underdog story. So here I am sitting in the grass. Yep. Just about every item of clothing that I've worn in any In The Image Clothing Company videos as of today's date has been purchased used. These shoes, these pants, both of these shirts. Yeah. If you don't know what's going on, that's okay, but I'm gonna say it again. I feel like that's kind of the phrase for this. Everybody loves a good underdog story. Yeah. It's a community. It's a familial place. We'll have a lot of events. It's permanent. In the Image Clothing Company. I'm 25 years old. I don't even have a single standard poodle yet. But everybody loves a good underdog story. I like themes. When I do In the Image Clothing Company podcast episodes, often I'll have the title be something that I say multiple times throughout it. Yep. Centered on the gospel of Jesus Christ. You know, I got baptized twice, dude. That's rare. Everybody loves a good underdog story. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, there you go. Little time capsule. It's been about 8 months. You know, I was watching this TV show last night about people and their pets, and you know, a lot of it was just some pretty unorthodox pets, right? Stuff that's not so common. Or relationships between pets that aren't so common. People treat animals the way that a lot of people treat dogs that otherwise wouldn't be like that, you know, take them everywhere with them type of thing. And you know, a lot of people talk about how they have those experiences where they see a certain animal for the first time and end up spending their life working with those animals. I had no idea. Just going over to the shelter in the same town that I lived in, just to kind of hang out with the dogs, see what was there. You know, I just had no idea that would end up leading to what In the Image Clothing Company Poodles is. That dog named Snoopy, man. Beautiful, standard poodle. It really is that experience for me, because I've heard that a lot growing up through TV shows like that. It's really where it's been, and you know, people then dedicate their whole life to conservation of something, or you know, advocacy for something. And the love that I have for standard poodles, I mean, I feel like I'm one of those people, man, that, you know, they're out there like working with elephants, you know, on a reserve or something, and they just explain how their whole heart's in it. And those stories, you know, they say like, I never could have expected it kind of thing, you know. It's so weird. Standard poodles, man. And so much that goes into it. That's the whole thing, you know. It's not just what it might seem. When you look at Indie Image Clothing Company, there's a lot here, man. And I keep saying, you know, not out of some hope, but I'm going to have a poodle with me just about everywhere that I go for the rest of my life. And everybody loves a good underdog story, because right now I don't even live in a place that allows dogs. I don't have any money to pay for a dog's food even if I did have a standard poodle right now. But here's your time capsule, because everybody loves a good underdog story. Yeah, man. All right, today's the 10th of May, 2025. So, it's here to stay. Set in stone, built on a rock, literally. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As I say under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, if you've got a problem with us, stick around. Because we got a lot that applies to every single human on the face of the earth for literally ever. You just got to figure out what we're really doing here. Because it'll help you. No matter who you are. It's pretty warm out here, dude. So, my name is Evan Strong, the founder, that's how I'm always going to word it, of In the Image Clothing Company. Thank you.